And hello, everyone. Happy Friday. Welcome to Get a Grip with Coach Helix. I am your host, Coach Helix, and with me, someone amazing. That would be my co-host, who is
Stephen Frederick Masick is
Stephen
here.
Frederick, who's also Stephen the Medium, known as Stephen the Medium, and most importantly, he's known as my husband, my better half. How are you?
I am?
You are. I say that all the time.
Yes, of course.
Yeah.
I just like sometimes making you say it twice.
Yeah, or twice. Sometimes you make it say it twice.
Yeah.
If anyone knows where that comes from, you
We love
call
them.
us and we'll give you a prize.
Yes.
This is a test. I want to know if
Listen,
anyone knows.
if somebody does and knows what that's from, excluding Mark, because Mark is probably
Yeah,
one who
Mark
knows
does
this.
not count. No.
Excluding Mark, yes.
And
if
it
you
has
if
to
you
be- Yeah,
if
go
you
ahead.
get this, I will give you a 30-minute free reading if you call in and specifically tell us where that word comes from.
Oh my goodness.
How's that?
That's a good one. So I think you people better start looking to figure out where tries come from. He makes me say it tries.
Yes.
So anyways, so Stephen, well today first and foremost, we have an amazing show. We have somebody who is or was a client, a young woman who is a filmmaker with the Sundance Institute, and over the past several years, I've been coaching filmmakers from the Sundance Institute fellowship program, which is an amazing program. And over the years, we've got to meet some pretty extraordinary people. In my case, they all happen to be female filmmakers, all of them from very diverse backgrounds. And oh my goodness, I don't know whether I get more than in the coaching than they do, but we develop a really incredible conversation. But these are really inspiring, aspiring young people that have made it to the Sundance filmmaking fellowship program. Many of them get their films in Sundance. We actually, the one that I coached last time, Francisca, we got to go to LA to watch her film. So it's just an extraordinary program. And today's conversation, which Stephen, I think it's quite appropriate given, the week, the past week, or this week that is about Chapter 2, Restart and Thrive. How about that?
I love that. Thinking of just remembering about Francisca, that was so wild to be able to be in LA and watch her movie, which we both loved, and connecting it. There's nothing like watching a movie, loving a movie, but connecting it to who is the author of that movie, who's who came up with that, who's the director, who's the producer. It's pretty wild.
Yeah, and Francisca also, her movie was very connected to the spirit world. So to have a client who's already connected to the spirit world, that really understood what you do, and it was just incredible. You got to meet her. She's from Chile, and in fact, she's working on a very, very big project with Amazon Prime that is going to be extraordinary. She's been working on this for a while, but this is a major project in a TV show that is going to be probably going on air very, very soon. So that said, we are going to have flor, like flower, de oro tejada. So flor de oro, that is the golden flower. Can you imagine? That's her name, Stephen. The golden flower.
It's like the elixir of life, where your name came from.
I know. Well, that's what my aunt used to tell me. So that's the story I keep telling myself.
Well, and you should, because it's true.
It's beautiful. It's beautiful. So Stephen, how are you doing? What's been going on with you? How are you managing, everything that's been How are you managing life? Let me just put it that way.
Oh, I'm great, just great, great.
If you know where that comes from, you yet get another prize.
Yeah, listen, either one of them, either thrice or I'm great, I'm really great, great. If you get either one of them, excluding Mark, then you also can get a 30-minute free reading. Listen, look how generous I am. Just throwing that out there. I'm good. You and I have talked about just life but more so this week, you and I have just also talked about how external things can only really affect you really based on where you are internally. And if you're at a place where you feel peace internally and you can see the bigger picture and sort of the collective consciousness, and it doesn't mean you're not hit with things that you don't like or you don't agree with, but you definitely can get through sort of that muddy time period way better than if you were in a place of your internal structure was chaotic. Then the external forces coming at you is just going to just blow you away. It's like a hurricane, and whether you have those steel shutters or you board up the windows versus you just leave your windows just unprotected. I mean, at the end of the day, with both houses, who's going to fare better, right?
Absolutely. And and Stephen, over the years, Mark, we can hear you. I'm sorry. So
let's listen.
Let's listen in to Mark. I think he just probably
he figured out.
He probably caught himself, and he's probably just if he had the live feed, I don't know what we would be seeing right now. But anyway, so Stephen,
the lines are crossed, right?
The lines.
I just keep coming up with them.
Yeah, the lines are crossed.
Yeah, the lines are crossed.
Yeah. So, anyways, if you know where that one comes from, I'm telling you, we have you got 3 opportunities to win.
Yes.
Anyways, so what I was saying, Stephen, is that over the years, one of the things, being an executive coach, being a coach, life coach, right? We talk about you can be in this field, just like you being a medium, speaking to the spirit world, unless you are living genuinely what it is that you teach, or what it is that you embrace in your program with your clients. You have to walk the walk, right? And for me, what that means is I've learned for a long time that when you persist, when you resist something, it persists. And oftentimes we resist something because of fear, right? And of course, that's how I found myself. Believe me, Monday and Tuesday, I was in that space of resisting, and I was miserable. But then I realized that the more I resist, the more something is going to persist. And I just went to bed, and I know, and again, thanks to your work, I'm so connected to the spirit world in first thing in the morning, without getting up, without looking at anything, turning the TV on. I woke up and I looked up my daily prayer that I get every day. And that day was Divine Order. And I read it. And Stephen, the moment I read it, and it actually says it can be unsettling and uncomfortable to live with uncertainty, especially when I may be eager for a resolution or to a situation. I remind myself that divine order is always unfolding, often in ways I cannot know and at a pace I cannot control. And that, Stephen, allowed me to let go. And the moment I let go, I embraced the what so, the moment. And I just felt we're going to be fine. We're going to be okay. Because divine order is really that. You have to trust that the what would you call it, the collective human experience, the collective consciousness. It's everything will turn out. that doesn't mean things are going to be easy, right?
No,
But everything's
not
going to
at
turn
all.
out. Yeah.
Not at all. I mean, that prayer that you read, and neither one of us are religious. We're very spiritual,
Yeah.
but we're not really religious. But that prayer that you just read, that really can be applied to anything. It's not just about a
Yes.
specific incident, right? It can be
Yes.
applied to if you potentially have a health issue and you're not really sure completely, or maybe you are sure exactly what you have and what's the cause and what's the diagnosis and what's the treatment. You use the same prayer to get you through that. That's what's a pretty amazing, that we have signs all over the place that you got that. And Wednesday morning I woke up and my hibiscus had this gorgeous red flower that bloomed overnight, and it's a hibiscus plant that I've had since we lived 2 houses prior to this one. So this is going back somewhere in I think the mid 90s when we first moved into our first house. I still have this hibiscus plant, and an indoor one. It doesn't go outside. That's not the easiest to bloom, but it did. So
Yeah.
it's good.
And honestly,
It's so good.
that hibiscus plant was a plant that my mother loved for years
Yes.
and years and years. And she was always obsessed with you because she always used to tell you, how did you get these flowers? And
Yeah.
there was a time, right, Stephen, where that plant looked like it was in its last days.
Yeah,
And
it looked like it was
all-
just sticks.
yeah, and then all of a sudden, you get a flower, and my mother would be like, "How? How does he do? How does he do this?" And I am convinced that was my mother's gift to both of us. That morning, that thing bloomed, and we woke up to a beautiful hibiscus flower right in our bedroom. So
She did that after she passed away, her
Yes.
birthday, if you remember.
I do remember, of course.
Yeah.
I remember because I look at that plant and I can never not think of her because
Yeah.
I remember every time she would say to you, "Oh my God, how does he get flowers on this thing? How does he get flowers out of a stick?" And you did time after time, and now that plant actually is doing better than it's ever done, Stephen.
Yes.
It looks
Yes.
so beautiful and so healthy. So, anyways, anything else going on with you, Stephen? Before we,
Oh, there's
take a
tons. This.
well,
I mean,
do tell. Do
there's
tell.
just tons. It's the easiest thing to do is go to my website, Stephen the Medium, and you can see all the events I'm doing. I'm adding several of them that are coming up most likely this weekend. As soon as I give this to my assistant Amanda, and she gets that up. And shout out to Amanda, who's amazing. And there's just a lot of things in the pipeline for both of us that we're working on, and everything is fantastic.
I love it. And by the
Yeah.
way, before we go into a commercial break, a shout out to my friend from CrossFit 1620, John Sayeda, because he showed up today with a bottle of champagne Moet, which is a prime, French champagne. Well, champagne has to be French because otherwise it cannot be called champagne. And Stephen, of course, only drinks the real thing. So he does not drink Prosecco. He does not drink anything unless it is French, real champagne. So shout out because it was a belated birthday present. So I'm still, even though I officially closed the month of October, I'm still celebrating, Stephen.
I love that. I love that. And,
How
and,
thoughtful.
and it's my taste buds, Elix. As I said, it's my taste buds, and I can tell if it's real champagne. Just saying.
Of course you can. And
Yes.
of course, by the way, I can't help to say this. Of course, in Palm Springs, one of the when we went to this very nice restaurant for dinner, the waitress who we know comes in and says, why don't we start with a toast of champagne? And of course, Stephen says, well, is it the real thing? So you are one of a kind, Stephen. Just saying, just one of a kind. It was a freebie, and Stephen has to make sure it's the real thing. Of course, she says it's the real thing because
And it was.
they don't do fake stuff in that place. Anyways, we do have to take a commercial break. When we come back, we're going to talk about Chapter 2, Restarting and Thriving. And every single one of us has had a Chapter 2, perhaps a Chapter 3, and a Chapter 4. And for that, we're going to have Flor de Oro Tejada. We'll be right back. And hello, everyone, and welcome back to Get a Grip with Coach Elix. I'm your host, Coach Elix, and with me, my amazing co-host,
Stephen the Medium.
also known as Stephen, my husband and attorney.
Yes.
And pretty handsome, if I may say so myself.
I agree.
Yeah, of course you do. And today we're having a conversation. This is a conversation that is for everyone. It's about Chapter 2, Restarting and Thriving. And we have an amazing guest, Flor Tejada, Flor de Oro Tejada. We're going to talk a little bit about that name, which is here, is a multidisciplinary filmmaker from the Bronx, New York. She's produced branded content in nonfiction shorts for Condé Nast, Vox Creative, Time, Tribeca Studios, P&G, and many more. Flor's documentary and narrative films explore the histories of Black, Indigenous, Latin, and LGBTQIA plus communities through fantasy, futurism, and healing. I had the privilege to meet this very talented young lady through the Sundance Fellowship Program, which I have had the privilege to coach over the last several years. And I could not be happier to have somebody with such talent to be here with all of you today. Welcome to our show, Flor.
Hello there. Hi, Coach Elix. Hi, Stephen. Thanks for having me.
Flor, how are you?
I'm here. We're here. I really love what you were both speaking on before the break. It was a rough week, I would say. I was definitely grieving the results of the election. And yeah, there was a point maybe 2 days ago where I thought, oh, I might have to cancel this. And then I was like, nope, we have to keep moving forward. So we show up. But I'm good.
What a better opportunity to talk about chapter 2, right?
Correct.
Which we all have an opportunity to do that at any time, restarting and thriving. So I cannot wait to have that conversation. But before we do that, Flor, you have to tell us a little bit about your name, because Flor de Oro in Spanish translates to the golden flower. So I need you to tell our listeners where your name comes from.
Where does my name come from? Well, interestingly, it's an interesting story. So my father is from Dominican Republic. My mother is from Ecuador. I'm a first-generation American. But yes, I was supposed to be a boy in their brains up until very close to my birth. So they had a whole different name plan for me. So this name kind of came in last minute. But essentially, the name Flor de Oro is a name that my tia, my aunt, suggested because there was a not so great dictator in Dominican Republic. His name was Rafael Trujillo. He was the last dictator of Dominican Republic. He had a daughter named Flor de Oro, and I think a lot of people in society just admired her, admired the name, and that's where the name actually came from. But when I've done some more research myself, the name actually comes from a Taino myth that originates in Puerto Rico, and it's about a young Taino princess, essentially. Her name was Anacaona, which does translate to golden flower. So that's the real origin of the name.
And you know, it's interesting because I just noticed in the live stream, my cousin Eva is listening to you, and I don't know how long ago, Stephen, when we got to go to that Indian powwow, and there were actually Tainos.
Yes,
a Taino tribe from Puerto Rico. So you know, we talked about Anacaona, so you know, that is really interesting. I totally forgot about that. I remember Flor de Oro, which is golden flower, and again, how appropriate is that for you? Now, Flor, I know, of course, because we had a coaching relationship for many months, that you took a leap of faith to follow your passion after experiencing burnout and living what you call an unfulfilled life. And then you took a
Correct.
deeper dive into your life, you confronted your weaknesses, and you heal from your trauma. So tell us a little bit about that, because I imagine that that's what led you to that chapter 2.
Correct. Yes. You know, I started my career soon after I graduated from college. I went to film school at NYU. It was my dream school. Filmmaking was my passion. And, you know, soon after I graduated, I was starting to work in the industry, and then I began a production company. Within that production company, along with my business partner, we built a company for over 10 years where we were producing a lot of branded content, a lot of content for nonprofit organizations, and the work was fulfilling. And then once I got more into this corporate world, I was starting to burn out. It was a reality that both of us were struggling with. And, you know, I think there was a part in that process where we both realized, like, do we want to continue to move forward in this direction when we are truly experiencing burnout, where it was not only physically exhausting, but emotionally exhausting, psychologically damaging. There was a point where it was time to end it. And when I look back at that, I realized so much of the autopilot that I had been working in, and it wasn't because I didn't have a passion for my business or a passion for the work that I was doing, but there was some point along that line where I really just stopped focusing on the things that made me happy and just really was set on, well, I have to do this because this is the trajectory that I have to go on, right? There's no, I've already built this success. There's no area for me to shift to. While
Now,
I was doing this, I was producing my first documentary at that time. And that was part of when that idea started to open up for me, that like I could focus on the filmmaking and that there was another way.
yeah, but Flor, was there anything specifically that happened that you experienced that aha moment, or was it just something that you were like experiencing, but you knew something had to change, but you didn't know, or did you just have that aha moment that had you no, I need to make this change?
I think it was a process. I think that there was a time where within this time of burnout that I became very depressed. And I did have an aha moment where I realized this is not the way that I want to live. This is not the way that I want to feel. And that this shouldn't be the cost of what I envisioned success to be, right? It shouldn't be at the cost of my mental health and my well-being, my relationships with other people. I was just not in a good place. And so there was that moment where I really wanted something different, but I wasn't exactly sure how to go about that. But what I realized in that area of depression was that I took accountability, that I had been participating in that I was, autopilot isn't just someone making me do something. It's my own doing without being conscious of it. And
Yeah.
so I wanted to be conscious of why I was acting out in those patterns, why I was overworking. I realized a lot of that had to do with my own trauma, and that I really needed to heal. And that if I could heal, then, I can get past it on the other side of that depression that I was experiencing.
Flor, as I'm listening to you, I can't help but, Stephen, think about your own story, in how trauma sort of put the lid on your gift, but the moment you recognize and you dealt with trauma, however you define that, that opens up, your gift. And in your case, it opened up you stepping into that, you know, better version of you, or that version of you that was really honing in on what you knew was most important, purpose. And that's what led to what you've had, what you've created, which is this very successful career as a filmmaker. Flor, we do have to take a small break. Hang in there. We're going to be right back, because I know Steven the Medium may have some questions for you as well. Hang in there. We'll be
Amazing.
right back. And hello, everyone, and welcome back to Get a Grip with Coach Elix. I'm your host, Coach Elix, and with me, my amazing co-host,
Stephen Frederick.
Stephen Frederick, also Stephen the Medium, and my amazing husband. And today we do have an extraordinary guest, Flor de Oro Tejada, who is a filmmaker that I got the privilege to meet through the Sundance filmmaking fellowship program. My goodness, that's a mouthful. And and we got to become really good friends, and I admire Flor. And today we're talking about chapter 2, restarting and thriving. And I know, Stephen, you have a question. Let's go with you.
Well, I feel like we're best friends because of hearing so much about you through Elix. So which is I love. And you know, when I was listening to you, in my experience or in my perspective, I think it's a gift when we're able at some point to step out of our own way and sort of take inventory and look on our behaviors and what we're doing and why we're doing it. But my question is, were you, as a little one, a little soul, was the film industry there as far back as you can remember, or was there something you, like a movie you saw? How did that even start?
So when I was very little, I would say the first thing I ever told my parents is that I wanted to be an artist. And that's only because that's what my 5-year-old brain understood was like a profession. You know, I thought like a painter. I used to paint a lot as a kid, and I enjoyed being creative. I didn't know what filmmaking was. You know, I watched films, but I didn't know how they came to be. But I was always really interested in storytelling and artistic expression. I got into theater pretty young, first as an actor, actually, which I was really good at and I felt really comfortable with. And by the time I got into high school, I got into production management and working behind the scenes. I really enjoyed that. But I was probably pretty young. Yeah, this was before high school when I understood what filmmaking was. You know, I finally got to see behind the scenes segments of shows being produced and learning that there's writers, there's directors, there's producers. And I thought that seems like so much fun. I want to be that person. I can't believe people get paid to make films, and yeah, that's how it all started. And I started making films pretty young. I want to say when I was about 15.
Wow.
I did some high school programs. You know, I did a couple high school programs where they taught filmmaking, and I just went for it.
That's awesome.
I love it.
I love it too. And Flor, you talk about restarting your life and creating what you call your chapter 2. Is there a significant meaning behind that label, chapter 2, for you?
Yeah, I think the chapter 2 is really like it's just really my healing. You know, I think my career has changed and shifted. It's not completely brand new. I'm still working in the field of producing content, but I think there was that inner shift where I really wanted to take a look at myself and decide, you know, these are the patterns that I no longer agree with, of, you know, the way that I was pretty much overworking myself as a coping mechanism. There was a lot of conditioning that I grew up with and beliefs around hard work and, you know, how you make money in the world. And when you unlock that, there's just so many other layers of, you know, the childhood wounds that I hadn't been tending to. And so now I really come from a new place. And, you know, Coach Elix, we worked on this too with the I am statement, just coming from a place of knowing the true authority and not necessarily playing that passive role in my life, which I was for many years. And when I think about chapter 2s, you know, since for the past 2 years, I've gotten to meet a lot of people that have had completely different career changes or have gone through major life shifts or have moved or have gotten divorced or remarried, and it gave me comfort to know that, you know, we are always allowed to change and evolve, and that's not a bad thing. You know, I think for a lot of people in my age group, you know, mid to late 30s, we're starting to a lot of people are starting to make different shifts, to show up in different spaces. And when you're younger, you feel like, well, this is what I'm supposed to do. This is my one career track. But you're allowed to shift. You're allowed to move into different areas. You're allowed to still learn and explore. But it really helped me to really do that healing work and start to ask myself, like, what does Flo really want to do? You know, outside of societal expectations or anyone's expectations, what really brings me joy and purpose? And yeah, it was more of an inner, it was something I had to do to evolve inside before it reflected into my decisions, whether it be my career or my relationships and my community.
In Flor, Stephen and I did a show, I don't know, a couple of weeks ago. By the way, Flor, if you have your radio on or your phone on, make sure you put it on mute because we're hitting a sound bounce back here. But anyways, in the interim, so let me ask you. So Stephen and I were doing a show about, I don't know, a couple of weeks ago, maybe last week, I forgot, about legacy. And you talk about you doing your I am statement, which we talked about. So if you have that statement available at some point, you know, I'd love for you to read it out loud, because I remember what you wrote and I can tell you I remember how powerful it was. So that would be, you know, useful. But the question that I have is, you know, what advice would you tell a listener that, just like you said, maybe they're not in their teens or early 20s, they're older. They're in their late 30s, maybe someone maybe in their 40s or 50s. And they know that it's time to start that chapter 2 for them. What advice would you give someone to start? What should they start doing right away to begin creating that chapter 2 for themselves?
Wow. Okay. I do hear my feedback. Should I mute my phone?
No, because I think if you mute your phone, we won't hear you. So I
Okay.
don't know, but just that's okay. Just we'll dance with whatever we got. So don't worry about it. So go ahead.
Does this sound better at all? Maybe not.
We'll try. Don't worry. It's okay.
Okay.
We're good.
We are good.
Sure. So I would say to begin by investigating that shadow part of, like, what do you think is stopping you from making a shift or making a move? Because I truly am a believer in it's never too late to start anything. My husband's grandfather, he passed away 2 years ago, but he lived to be 96, and he is one of the most successful, like, philanthropic, amazing people I had ever met. And one of the best things he told me is, like, it's never too late to make your dreams come true, because I was 76 when I built my dream house. And,
Wow.
you know, for some people, they might think, well, that's too late to start, but he lived in it for 20 years, and it was his dream home. And that really, like, I'll never forget that. So yeah, it's like, investigate what is the resistance? What are the fears? And often when you follow those fears and investigate, become curious about what those things are, you'll notice that they really are just belief systems that you've put on yourself, but there's nothing that really is stopping you from achieving certain things. And I think a lot of the judgment that we fear that other people will perceive us in a certain way if we make changes, or what will people think. There's so many complexities to why we stop ourselves from pursuing the things we want to do. So I would say get curious, and then once you investigate, what can you do to alleviate yourself from these ideas that you've been that you have of yourself, that you think you can't do something. And for me, a lot of that did involve, I mean, I had to attack it from so many angles. I did have a therapist. I got to work with you and have a coach, which was incredibly supportive. I did EFT tapping. I did a lot of like embodiment work. Things I tackled on my mindset from many different angles. Because similar to working out in the gym, I think it's the same thing with mindset work. You kind of have to constantly be doing it. And even now, as I'm, trying to grow and expand in my career, I'm being asked, that I need to expand. So I have to show up in different ways. And so that will continue for me to look at those limiting beliefs that a lot of times we get from other people, from growing up, from conditioning, and we can move past those things, but we have to really look at that. And I'm always constantly journaling, and when I see something come up like a limiting belief, I'm like, where did that come from? How can I work to clear that limiting belief?
That is wonderful. And as you know, one of the things I always tell the people that I coach or listeners is we often use those limiting beliefs, self-limiting beliefs, as a way, reasons, validations, justifications to get us off the hook. So you got to really pay attention to that. There is no age limit. Whatever, if you really are committed, if you're clear about what purpose is for you, anything is possible. You have to get in action. You have to start doing the work. Talking about it, thinking about it doesn't get the work done. So we do have to take another break, Flor. So let's do that, and we'll come back. We'll continue to go with the conversation, and and see if Stephen the Medium has questions for you. And but there's plenty more to talk about. Hang in there. We'll be right back. And hello, everyone, and welcome back to Get a Grip with Coach Elex. I'm your host, Coach Elex, and with me, my amazing co-host,
Stephen
the Medium, also my husband. And today we have also an amazing guest, Flor De Oro Tejada, who is a filmmaker and somebody I got to meet and coach through the Sundance Filmmaking Fellowship Program. Flor, excuse me, I just call you son now. Flor, welcome back. Stephen, you have a question.
Flor, I have a question, two questions. Do you have siblings, and how are your parents with what you do?
I do have siblings. I have 3 sisters, and they are all wonderful. I'm obsessed with them. And my parents, are thankfully people that really support what I do. I never got any negative feedback about pursuing the arts, which I know some parents would prefer their kids to maybe pursue something that feels a little bit more stable on the outside. But I think they just trusted me, and they really encouraged me to pursue my passions and my talents. And they were really mostly just concerned that I get a college degree and that I feel empowered. So they've always been very supportive. And I remember back in college, I had a internship at NFL Films. It was a cinematography internship, and I was the only woman in this very large department of cameramen, and I felt so intimidated. And after the first day of my internship, I called my father crying, just sobbing on the phone, saying, "I don't think I can do this. I feel scared." And he was like, "This is, don't be scared. That's why they chose you, and you're representing." And he actually, he doesn't call me Flor de Oro. He has other, cute names for me, but he actually brought up my name and was like, the name Flor de Oro is like a name of luck, and it's a name of purpose, and you're meant to be there. And he just really gave me that pep talk that I needed. And so I think about that all the time, that I'm really lucky that I have parents that really encouraged me, despite knowing that the industry I'm in is, it can be unpredictable.
Wow.
But life can be unpredictable, yet here we are, living life
Here
to the
we are.
fullest. Here we are. Flor, did you find your I am statement? Because I want you to read it to everyone.
I do, because I have it as my the background of my desktop on my computer, so I always have it.
There you go. See, that was also a test to see how well is she doing after coaching, and she got the answer right.
A+.
That I am A+ for sure. So read that statement so everyone can listen to how powerful that statement can be.
Wow. All right. Thank you so much for letting me share it. I'm an infinite spirit having a human experience as Flor de Oro Tejada. At this time, in this moment in time, I'm an aspect of all that is and all that ever will be. I am, therefore I am. I am whole, divinely protected, and guided by divine love of the highest light. I am committed to walking in my purpose and trusting it. I am always operating on my highest timeline with the intention of positive expansion and harm to none. By acting on my excitement, I am expanding my consciousness and that of the collective. I am the creator of my reality, and my reality is a reflection of me, my beliefs, and my actions. I am an inhabitant of the cosmos. I am abundant and fully resourced. I am a channel for the expansion of all that is, and will walk in my purpose. I am always aligned with my higher self. I am a multi-dimensional, multi-passionate, multidisciplinary, and multi-hyphenated individual. I embody both feminine and masculine energy, my light and shadow, to experience my highest timeline. I am heart-centered and trust my instincts. I am an agent of change and transformation. I am an alchemist who inspires others to transmute wounded emotions into beautiful ones. I am interested in expanding consciousness and investigating humanity through filmmaking. I'm a filmmaker in service of truth, knowledge, and expansion of consciousness. I'm an advocate for others and use film, television, and other visual mediums to advocate for others. I work for myself and am in control of my time. I'm a full-time filmmaker, thriving in my career as a producer and director. I'm a leader in my industry. I'm a leader in my field and influential voice in my industry. I am a powerful producer who uplifts important stories and artists alike. I work with individuals who love and respect my creativity, ideas, time, and energy. I am a successful and prosperous business owner. I am financially independent and attract money with ease. My needs are always met. I am a world traveler and adventurer. I am here to enjoy the beauty and pleasures of this earth. I am a fun, loving, supportive, and inspiring wife, friend, family member, and colleague. By living my purpose, I inspire others to do the same. My husband and I are always connected, and we enjoy a life of comfort, joy, adventure, and purpose. We support each other in our shared and personal goals. We enjoy our exciting careers and have ample time to vacation together every year. I am very close with my parents and sisters. We enjoy a peaceful life, traveling and experiencing beautiful memories together. I am healthy and take care of my body, which serves as my home and the vehicle who creates my reality and meets her goals. I am beautiful, strong, athletic, flexible, and nimble. I practice mindfulness and meditation daily. I live a life of prayer. I always have options. My life is a yes. And that's my statement.
And that's a beautiful statement. And notice, if you're listening, if you'll just listen to Flor's statement, there's nothing there that says, I hope, I wish, I think, someday, somehow, but not today. Everything was spoken right here, right now. Why is that important for you? And why has that statement been an opening for you to step into something bigger?
I mean, I think when I wrote this, I was channeling that higher self that I, speak of in the statement. And that comes from a guided place. It comes from a spiritual place. And I know I can trust that place. And so this statement is a reminder that all of the things that I want to create already exist in me. I already have all the things needed to create this life that I see for myself, that I envision for myself. And it's so helpful for me to read it regularly because, I'm a human, so I get challenged by, and I experience fear. So when I read my I am statement, I am reminded of these are my words, and these are coming from that deep knowing that this all exists in me, and I'm capable of creating this life for myself.
That is so fabulous. That's why you're such a incredible human being. You definitely living to that statement that you wrote. Flor, what projects are you working on? We're almost at the top of the hour, so I want to let people know what are you working on and how can people get a hold of you?
Sure. Right now I'm producing several documentaries. One is called Rubbish, The Queer Kingdom of Layla Babirye, which is about a queer artist activist from Uganda who transforms discarded rubbish into incredible works of art. So we're in production for that film, and I'm really excited to see that into completion next year. I'm also working on a film in Idlewild, Michigan. It's a documentary about Black history and Black futures and it follows the residents of Idlewild, Michigan as they're reshaping this town that has this incredible history, and essentially they're looking into the future and how to really preserve this rich history, and as well as creating sustainable ways of living and uplifting their Black community. And right now I have 2 short films. One is called The People Could Fly. It's a short documentary that was made through American POV with PBS and Chicken and Egg, and it'll be screening at several festivals throughout the next year. It will be screening on November 18th at Doc NYC, which is a documentary film festival, which I'm really excited about. And yeah, I'm always working on several films, and so if you would like to find out more of my work, I do have a link tree, which is linktree.com/Flor Tejada. I am working on a website though. That's coming next year.
Beautiful. And we're gonna have you back. So by the time you come back, that website better be up and running so that we can drive people to your website. Stephen, any parting words for Flor?
Well, it sounds like you're not really busy, so maybe you should think on adding something on. No, this has been. I'm so happy that you came on and shared your story with us as well as all the listeners now, and that will be hearing the recording. So thank you for this.
And
Thank you
Floyd,
both.
any parting words for our audience, our listeners?
Thank you for your time. Sharing my I am statement, it does feel a little vulnerable, but my hope is that I am living in that I am statement, and that I hope it can inspire you to live in your truth and to make your own I am statement, and to give yourself that permission to really just go for your passions and what excites you.
Yeah,
And thank you for listening.
thank you. And Flor, the only thing I would say is there's no hope. Nobody hopes here. We just do. And
We do. We act.
We do. We step into it. And honestly, if you are listening to this conversation today, and you are wondering, how do I get started with my chapter 2, that would be a wonderful way to get started. Start writing that I am statement for yourself. And remember, there's no rules. There's no right or wrong. There is one rule. Make it a now thing. No hope, no wish, no think, no none of that. Just a now thing, no matter what. But listen, thank you for sharing your time, your attention with us so generously. You have an open invitation to come back to our show anytime. And thank you again for being here with us, Flor. Until
Thank you so much.
later. And thank you, Mark Clark, for producing our show. As always, thank you, Jim, and all the staff at WARA 1320 in Attleboro. And thank you to my wonderful sidekick. Ooh, how about that? Stephen the Medium. He's a sidekick and a psychic.
Thank you. I really wasn't prepared to do a speech. I'd like to thank everyone who supported me.
Oh my God, you're always prepared to do speeches, so please. That nobody that knows you believes that. So, anyways, how can people get a hold of you, Stephen? StephenTheMedium.com
and Stephen the Medium, any social media. That's how you can find me.
And you can find me at Coach Helix. And again, thank you. And stay tuned and listen to Mark Clark's, our producer. His show is coming next, Mark's Jukebox. So stay tuned, WARA 1320 AM, Attleboro. Until next Friday, thank you. Bye, everyone.
Bye.